Hi, my name is Benedict. I wanted to actually walk you through a pair of devices that I've been making in the background whilst doing some other things. They're what's called character devices. So there's RC3 and SSP01, or 1. Obviously variously named, need to type that one up. So it's a resonant character device or a stereo tank, which is built around a Haas concept. That doesn't mean a lot to you. We'll show you how they work. So we'll start by, I've got 3 sounds that I've set up. Start by showing you what they can do for you. So if I look at my subtractor, I've got a really simple sine wave electric piano. Nice, but kind of really flat, as is the nature of a perfect digital synth, is that they're very even. So let's turn on our resonating filter bank. Do you hear how straight away it develops more character? In some ways it sounds kind of exactly the same, and in other ways it just comes alive, it develops a character. Now what we've done is, rather than allowing everything to be perfect and even, which gives you that flat, what people used to call reason sound, but it is across the board, this is now doing what's hidden inside a lot of synthesizers. In hardware it was traditionally not hidden, it was just considered a failing of it. The resistors, the diodes, the doohickeys inside them would cause things to not be perfect. So you would end up with all kinds of character as you moved across the sound and through time. The different notes actually behave differently. What we've got are 3 band pass filters. So it's very brutal. In terms of trying to be polite, we've got our raw sound. So we've got a just the filter sound. Now obviously you can move these things around. And then it goes through a resonator. Now a resonator, if you're not sure what that is essentially an incredibly short delay, commonly with a high feedback or regeneration amount. So that creates a flutter echo, exactly what you get inside an instrument body or a small room. Go into a small room, clap your hands, and you should be able to hear a whine from up in the corners, particularly corners, but basically anywhere the wall meets the ceiling, you'll tend to hear this sort of whine. Sometimes you can hear it move around the room. That's a resonance. So that's this fella here. We can set the resonance to work. Obviously not as much impact on a sine wave sound as on a sawtooth or something like that. But I want to show you how much can be achieved with very little input. So we're changing the point at which it resonates, therefore the frequency at which it resonates, hence calling that tone. You can go right out to a almost noticeable delay. So if you want to get into the weird sound effect area, then it's kind of cool for that. As you hear, it starts to make certain frequencies seem more dominant. So it's kind of like putting a comb filter through. We can pick out what we want to do. I went through and did that before, but with our 3 filters, and between placing the band pass and choosing the amount of resonance, we can choose how that behaves. And we can take our resonance post filters bank, which is normally what we want to do, because that's what an instrument box does, or a room does. It imparts its sound or its character upon the what's actually excited it. So original, 100% the new sound, and commonly somewhere in between. Here, there, we're sort of emphasizing the tock, tock, tock on the beginning. That's not there, because if we look at the core sound, there is no thing to create a tock, tock, tock on the beginning of it. So if we turn it off, we're creating character and an unevenness across the sound, which within a mix can really, when you find the right points in that sound that you want to emphasize, you really create a lot more sense of depth and movement in that sound and the role that it's playing. The next one is a Haas Stereo Tank. So basically a Haas is a false way of creating stereo. The sound comes in, left-handed is automatically assigned to the A, the right hand to the B. We can swap that if you're, fussing about your stereo and which goes which way. You can also reassign the panning of A and B. So you can, if you want to do that. So you've got an awful lot of control in here, and you can narrow your width. But by putting a little bit of, we go from a mono sound to a stereo sound. We can overdo it. The option is there. Very much deliberately designed to be breakable. Turned off this. Original sound. Stereo sound. We can swap the phase of the delayed sound. It can sometimes give you a wider sound. Yes, that sound can change as you collapse it, but the reality is not much is collapsed into mono these days, and you check it, which you should be checking your mixes anyway, at least checking that when you mono them that they work adequately. They'll never sound the same, but as long as they work adequately, then you're right. So you can swap phase to work out which you prefer to do. Do that within the context of the mix, because while it's always very tempting to have when you put your sounds into a mix, and if everything's over there, then you really can never focus that mix. Also, being Reason, we can assign everything to modulation sources. We started again with nice but super polite. There's not a lot of detail in that. We've given it character. little bit of moving modulation. The width is probably too much in reality, so we can collapse that right down to mono. We can change our phase if we want to, see what happens, but probably a little bit of again, we've taken a very simple sound which doesn't have a lot of character and worked it up with just character effects. We haven't added any echoes, any reverbs, anything else, no EQs other than what's happening inside here, and we've suddenly got a huge amount more character in our sound. Because we've got more character, then we're not going to have to work that as hard in terms of putting on the delays and reverbs which can mush it up, or compressors which can gut it. Whether that's the sound you're looking for, doesn't matter. I'm merely showing what this can do. So there we got one. Hold him back up. Next one. This is actually one of my instruments. I just picked this as being a very, simple analog style synth. We've got our main oscillator, a second oscillator which is dropped an octave, able to be detuned and widified. Pretty standard stuff. Now if we turn on our resonating filter bank, yeah, how we've really changed the character of that sound. Get a bit heavy-handed, I can set a very high resonance, which means it's peaking purely for that frequency that I pointed at. I've deliberately not put what frequency it is. You've got a one of these doohickeys, a spectrometer. We go, ooh, and choose to tune it if we are so obsessed. This is about character. I'm not a big fan of writing music based on hertz or anything like that. It's character, you're moving around, finding the point where that sound works. And again, always the advice is, this is like EQ, do it in the mix. Tempting to say, oh, this is a beautiful sound on its own, put it in the mix, doesn't work anymore. We're just picking out those, probably 1.5, 2K, gives it bite, a kind of drive to it as well. That's really just going to push it through the mix. Now what you'll notice with this resonance section is that we start to get a kind of cabinet tone from it. So if you're looking for something like a speaker emulator, this is not an emulator of speakers, it merely uses some of the same thinking that, or the same laws of physics, not thinking, the same laws of physics as what causes that sound within a cab. So you can impart a resonance characteristic on your instrument. And and it'll go across the whole instrument, but you can set it to peak at particular places, in this case 3 places. I deliberately chose not to allow these to be turned on and off. It seemed nicest to me where you had all 3. It also seemed nicest to me when we were using the resonator along with the filter. That's why you'll see mostly I've got it tuned out. You could balance the 2 there. So that's resonating the original A sound. This is the B sound, or we can delay this, in which case it becomes a B2 sound. All comes down to what sound's going to work for you in the mix. I often find the combination of the A sound, which is your clear sound, against the B2, which is going through here, going through your resonator, which means it's actually dragged back in time a little bit, gives you the nicest kind of outcomes. If we were then to pull in our stereo tank, this is using pretty big settings and really stepped out of the idea of A, this as being a bass sound, and B, using this as though we're just creating stereo. It doesn't operate very well as a bass sound anymore, but as you can hear, it's now actually behaving like a spring reverb. Now, a lot of that happens because we've got here how it goes fairly flat. We can set our mix. If we wanted to, we could swing everything the other way around. Change our phase relationship, so that's the relationship between the original sound and what's in this case becoming a like a spring reverb, but nicer to narrow that down in this situation. So here how we've started with very bog standard sound. Gives it a bit of character, doesn't really give us that's merely showing that you can push these to end up with quite different results, and we haven't changed a single thing in our synth sound here. So that's them folded up. And the last one I want to show you is big synthy, choiry, paddy kind of sound. There is a reverb, which is going to be post effect on this. So the aim here, we're really looking to find a different tone in this instrument. You see I've set a modulator to move this center. Let's actually also set a modulator to move that tone. You probably don't want to move it too much. CV2, assign to that. Turn this fella on. So it's a little like a formant filter, because that's basically what they do. So they're moving around each other quite a lot. If we were put 50-50, pull that out of the mix, put him back in. Very polite digital synth. Extra layers of movement. Bring this fellow in. Here very much using the stereo thing in a more extreme thing. I've moved the delay to a long setting so you can hear it play there and bounce over there. But if you get your timings right between the notes you're playing and the delays, you can have your notes seem to swirl around as you play them. And that can be really nice in a mix where you're working with a pad and you've got a complex mix and you want your pad to be simple but have some movement. Then moving around like that can be really effective. Try not to move it out too far, because that can cause you some problems. You might want to narrow this down in the mix. For now it's easier to hear that way. The reverb here, because it sums to mono, will have done some of that anyway. If we turn our reverb off, sounds a bit extreme, which is part of why I put this reverb in here. So we can kill that off. You have that as a really nice effect of working with the timing to have things spin around. So that's just that. Flat pad with movement. Again, we can invert that. It all depends what you want to do. Or bringing in character. So from that, I hope you see that with some character effects, it's amazing how much you can change a sound. It doesn't have to be set in stone. Just with character effects, you can really change the timbral feel of a sound and even dig into particular details. And that makes the sound far more interesting for you to then be able to work in a mix, which often means less other kinds of processing, leaving a cleaner, more natural, more dynamic sound once you get into the mix. Obviously, with regards to dynamics, if you're pushing particularly the resonator a bit hard, you may need to look at something just to control some of the strays, because they can get a bit peaky if you're pushing them hard. But overall, because of that sense of movement and character that the sounds generate through the character effects, then you'll find that you actually don't need as much processing to get this really nice, open, warm, vibrant kind of a mix. And that's why character effects are so highly sought after. And one of the amazing things about character effects is that They don't have to be super high quality. Often that's a great thing. Where they're super high quality and everything's perfect according to demented kinds of rules that you find in synth forums and what have you, then they're no longer character effects. They're a good way to blow $150, but they don't give you the kind of character. Character is wildness. Remember how our electric piano went from really vanilla organized to having notes that didn't sound the same as other notes, almost like they were dropping out. That's because we've pushed it a bit hard. It all depends on our performance. But that makes that performance, when you get it right, sound so much more dynamic, so much more lively, so much livelier, even if we were to adjust our grammar. And that's just from having really characterful effects. And it's gonna be so much more of a joy for you to mix when that time comes. So I hope you've learned something about a great set of tools that you can use for mixing, and B, realised that I'm offering a great set of tools that can be used for mixing. Thank you very much.